Coming up on today's wrestling news, an ECW legend's son debuts on AEW Dynamite.
Weird developments with that Boa Xia Li storyline and more matches added to NXT TakeOver War Games.
I'm going to reveal the mastermind behind The Undertaker's WWE Final Farewell.
And more matches added to AEW Winter is Coming next week. I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
Let's kick things off by talking about the low-key debut on last night's episode of Dynamite. The son of ECW legend Taz, who, by the way, this might be the most appropriate nickname for the son of Taz ever, is going by Hook. So Taz's son debuted on last night's AEW Dynamite. This came about following a squash match. Powerhouse Hobbs, the newly renamed Powerhouse Hobbs, what a great name, destroyed Lee Johnson. Afterwards, Taz came out and effectively held Dynamite hostage, right? He was on the microphone, he was in the ring, he was saying, listen, I'm not going anywhere until a member of management comes out and legitimizes, shows some respect to the FTW World Championship. That man was Cody Rhodes. Cody had no time for this crap whatsoever. He was like, hey, Taz, listen, you get in a tag match next week, bugger off, mate, just faff off. Taz was like, no, the belt, show respect to the belt. Cody turned around, he was visibly pissed off. He said he talked to management, but Taz, listen, how come your son is training with me and not you? Things got personal. Cody Rhodes took it to a new level. So what did Taz do? Taz walked away, looked like he was leaving the ring. He turned around, he put Cody in a Taz mission, the first Taz mission in God knows how long, choked him out, got chased away by Gun Club. On the outside of the ring with a hood over his head was Hook, clutching the AEW World Championship. They left the ring. Now, there's currently no word on whether or not Hook is going to be like a regular TV performer on Dynamite for the foreseeable future, but there's no record of him actually ever wrestling, so he's presumably just going through the training process right now. He did, however, file a trademark application for his ring name last week. Trademark application for Hook relating to wrestling activities. His real name is Tyler Synertia. So, you know, I think the good captain might have a word to say about the trademark on Hook and so forth. But, you know, it's another second-generation star making their way into professional wrestling. He's obviously going to be a long-term development project. But look, if he's even a quarter as awesome as his dad is, he's going to be pretty great, right?
Yeah, exactly. No pressure, lad. But I love the name Hook. And what a crap time it is to be Cody Rhodes, by the way. You've got a tag match next week. Powerhouse Hobbs, who looked amazing, by the way, paying homage to sort of Mike Tyson in the towel when he came out. I loved his little nod to that he alluded to on Twitter after the show. And, he got put in the bloody Taz mission. Oh, and by the way, Shaq still wants to kill him for having one name or something. Not a good time for that, but yeah, really, really enjoyed that whole weird segment. I know some people weren't a huge fan of Taz going after creative and management. What did you think of that, actually, Andy?
I thought it was a great line, man, and I think people should just, maybe stop taking it so seriously, just enjoy the fun.
But yeah, I thought both shows were really good this week, in my opinion. Let's transition over to NXT. A wild show. Lots of stuff happened on this show. I'll try and get into it as much as possible. The most important thing, bollocks to all the stories I said I was going to report, the return of the grizzled young veteran, soon to be... they returned, and I'm a huge fan of Zach Gibson, so I just used that as a time to do my Liverpool accent. But anyway, in actual storyline developments, that weird storyline with Boa and Xia Li continued on this week's show. They rocked up looking like they'd had a tough couple of weeks, to be perfectly honest. They turned up at the warehouse, at some sort of random warehouse. Shifu shouted at them, and then this mystery woman marked their hands. They'd been apologising for all their recent failings. She is going to be arriving soon on the black and gold brand. I'm very intrigued by all this, Andy.
I'm glad you are.
It's weird. It's borderline problematic in parts, but who knows what. I mean, so I suppose on the other show you had a woman licking a belt, so it's not much better over there either. But in terms of TakeOver War Games, which of course goes down, what is it, next Sunday. My God, everything's coming around very quickly. More developments with that. Toni Storm turning heel on last night's NXT. She initially actually come down to help Ember Moon after her match with Candice LeRae. There was Dakota Kai, there was Raquel Gonzalez in there, and then Toni turned on her, beat the crap out of her, chucked her in. Also later on in the show, Rhea Ripley got her head kicked in, so did Io Shirai. That seems to suggest they may well be part of Shotzi Blackheart's War Games team. No confirmation of that as of yet, but it does look like the women's heel team is going to consist of Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, Candice LeRae and Toni Storm. And on the men's side of things for War Games, Pete Dunne grabbed the briefcase before Kyle O'Reilly to give the Kings of NXT the advantage in the men's War Games match. He got helped out by a mystery person who I'm fairly certain, Andy, was probably Pat McAfee.
Almost certainly Big Bad Pat. The Pat Pack representing against Undisputed Era in this year's men's War Games. The women's War Games was, I thought, the best WWE style War Games match so far, the one that happened last year. So I'm really looking forward to that one in particular. I'm sure we'll see Shotzi Blackheart recruit her gang of crazy green-haired, staple themselves into chess people.
Also,
great.
2 more matches to tell you about from TakeOver War Games. Almost forgot then. Dexter Lumis, Cameron Grimes, straight to the moon, baby! They're going to go head-to-head in a strap match. And Leon Ruff, as expected, will defend the NXT North American Championship in a triple threat match with Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest, as announced by last night by William Regal, who even did an homage to Teddy Long and said the word player.
Very good. I just want to see him do the dance next. Please, William Regal, do the Teddy Long dance and book someone against The Undertaker. Speaking of The Undertaker, do you want to know who was behind his final farewell? Do you want to know who booked that whole thing? It was Vince McMahon, Austin. It was Vince McMahon all along. This is a report from PW Insider. Talked about how Vince was deeply involved with this segment all the way up, like the days leading to the pay-per-view and on the day of the show itself. He booked the final farewell at Survivor Series 2020. You know, Vince added quite a lot to the segment as well. I think him kind of like coming to the verge of tears added to the gravity of the whole thing and set it up for the emotional tone with the conclusion with Paul Bearer and the big exit with the gongs and everything else. So fair play, the boss playing a hands-on role. No great surprise here, but still cool to know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not exactly surprised that he was heavily involved in it. It was a weird segment. It probably means that that's more obvious that Vince was behind it. Let's get all these legends to come out and then disappear without saying anything. Okay. Obviously, the Paul Bearer hologram was a nice touch. They had the Tesla coils, which was so random. And a speech I've heard from The Undertaker on about 5 different anniversary shows. So that was nice. And I don't believe it's his final farewell. And I reckon we'll probably see him wrestle one more match. But there you go. That's just my personal opinion. Next week, though, we are heading towards AEW. Winter is coming. We've got Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega in a, I suppose, sort of anticipated World Heavyweight Championship match. I mean, I'm not that arsed about it. It wasn't like they had another amazing promo build for it last night with Moxley attacking Omega while he does his stupid knobhead entrance and then doing the bloody move on the... smashing his head on the belt and then saying trying to climb this mountain that 18 months no one's been able to bloody... God, it was so good. I'm not doing it any justice. But yes, there was that last night. Also, more matches announced for Winter is coming. As I sort of alluded to earlier, it's going to be Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes versus Team Taz, that being Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. Also, we're getting Chris Jericho versus Frankie Kazarian. Women's divisions represented by Britt Baker versus Layla Hirsch. As I mentioned, Hikaru Shida's probably busy with Abaddon, who's busy licking her belt. That's not a euphemism. And there's also going to be another Dynamite Diamond Battle Royale for the beautiful Diamond Ring, Andy Murray.
Yeah, the card looks pretty nice. It's perhaps not like the ultra stacked lineup that a lot of people were maybe hoping for, with like several different crazy big title matches. There's no Shaq, which is interesting, but it's a really good card. Obviously, you know, Moxley versus Omega is the biggest match they've ever done on TV and should pop a nice number. Cody and Darby Allin versus another iteration of Team Taz. That's going to be really good. Really excited to see Layla Hirsch on television again, and Britt Baker's continued rise back up towards the top in the women's division. So, you know, it's a good card. Looking forward to seeing it. I hope they come up with some crazy Game of Thrones set. Like, someone's got to be dressed as the god damn Night King, right? Who's going to get that little dagger through the heart? Who's going to play Arya? Is it going to be Marco Stunt? He's probably the only guy small enough for it. Let us know in the comments section who you want to see as the Night King next week. Probably nobody, but you know.
I've said before, John Silver needs to dress as Khaleesi and I'll be happy. Great match between him and Hangman Page, by the way, last night. Do you reckon, pasty bet, they're going to crack 1 million?
Are you on the positive side?
Well, I don't know.
This
This is the problem. I think we both agree that they're going to crack 1 million, don't we?
I think we kind of do. We kind of do.
Well, if they both crack 1 million, we'll buy each other a pasty. There we go. There's the pasty bet.
So let's just buy each other a pasty anyway. Why not?
Buy someone a pasty today. Oh, well, we'll get to how special today is in due course, trust me. Wrestling with Doom starts our Twitter questions off today, though, at WhatCulture WWE if you want to get in touch with us. He says, good morning, fellas. Should the FTW title be sanctioned in AEW, or do they have enough belts as is? Also, this is Freya. She watches every day. Hello, Freya. Good dog. But yes, what do you reckon? FTW Championship sanctioned?
Nah, I don't think so. For me, they've kind of got enough singles belts at the moment, and the FTW Championship is more, it's a symbol, right? It's not a traditional title. It's a symbol of how, like, badass and backs against the wall, like Taz was back in the day and still is now as a manager and so forth. And I think Taz in general works a little bit better as well when he's got something he can moan about. He's really good at, like, having a chip on his shoulder and being, like, really aggressive and, like, being the hard, done-by guy on the microphone. I think it's perfect for him as things currently are. I would not sanction it at all. I think it's fine. It's a symbol. It's like a prop. It's not a traditional wrestling title, and I love it how it is.
Yeah, I think they've got enough titles, to be perfectly honest. Maybe if they launch AEW Fuse, the third hour of AEW Dynamite, as copyright by me, AEW, you owe me money if you use that title. But yeah, maybe if they do that, but I don't think they need any more titles on TV. Second question today comes from the legend that is Matt Reigns, who says, simple question, who would you have win next week's Battle Royal for that beautiful diamond ring?
So I think this is going to be used to set up MJF's next feud, because MJF obviously has the ring at the moment. He used it last night to remind you that it is still in play. Take that, your face. So for me, there are two interesting options there. The two most interesting options are Wardlow. They've been teasing that for a while. That would be cool if MJF's employee has his ring. That sets up all kinds of interesting dynamics. But Sammy Guevara is the other one, because they've been doing this kind of like parallel prodigy thing with Guevara. Guevara was Jericho's little prospect before MJF came along, and now the roles are kind of switched, and Sammy isn't too happy about that. So there's lots of really incredible stuff they could do with both of those.
Andy Murray, you took the words right out of my mouth. It must have been when you were kissing me. Final question today comes from Marcus, a man who says, is there a finisher that was done in the past that you'd like to see a current wrestler do? I'd like Bobby Lashley to bring back the perfect plex because it locks, rocks. I don't know what Marcus means there. Also, Brandon Cutler does the Dragon Sleeper for D&D. Nice D&D reference there.
I would love to see someone pop out a burning hammer on television. I mean, like, look, I've watched indie matches where people have kicked out of this move and, like, kind of disrespected this incredible legacy that Kenta Kobashi set out back in the day. But I would love to see maybe Kenny Omega could finish Jon Moxley with that next week. It's the most protected and I think important feeling move in wrestling history, and it would be so cool to see someone just destroy someone with it. You got to be very careful though, because that's a very dangerous move. So Nia Jax, don't get any ideas.
No, exactly. And thanks to Andy and Ben Roy, our editor, who helped me workshop this one. It needs to be the Bronco Buster done by Cameron Grimes. Yeah! Going full Doctor Strangelove on the turnbuckle, in my opinion. There's a nice visual for your Thursday. And speaking of which, let's move on to today's. And finally, all we have to say today is happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at WhatCulture. We here are thankful for you, because, well, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to do this, and Andy and I wouldn't be getting paid for doing turkey impressions. So thank you, and have a great Thanksgiving to all our American viewers. Let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dudley Boys sitting down to review the Wednesday Night War later on today. Plus, let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for, hey, remember that time X-Pac did a Bronco Buster and ripped his asshole open? I certainly do.
I'll never forget that. Yeah. Follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon. Go on, do a turkey impression. Yes!